DreAllDay.com.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Overseas Basketball Blueprint Podcast, the inaugural episode of this show, the premiere episode of the show. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. You'll find out about me in a moment, but I'm making this episode here to introduce everyone to the show, to give you an introduction to me, an introduction to what I do, and make sure that you are very clear on exactly what you are listening to and what you will be listening to moving forward. That is, if you're a basketball player who's serious about playing professional basketball, starting a career and or extending your career, or if you're a person who's interested in helping somebody else start a career or extend a career, or you just want to get some information about what the hell is going on, what is overseas basketball thing about, and you want to hear from someone who not only has been 10 toes deep in the game, who knows from firsthand experience what it's like, but also has the skill of explaining it and disseminating to you what it's like. Or there's no other person in the world who has that combination at the level that I have it. And I say that, I could call it humbly, but I say that because I've earned the right to be able to say that. And as you get to learn more about me, you'll know exactly why that is. So today's episode, I'm gonna go over 4 specific things. I'm gonna tell you who I am and who this show is, what this show is gonna be, and what it is here to deliver, why it exists, and why we're gonna help you and why you would wanna listen. And then we're gonna tell you how we're gonna do it. And when I say we, I just mean Working Your Game Incorporated, my company, but I'm the only one who's gonna be talking here. So who, what, why, and how. Those are 4 questions I'm gonna answer right here, and you're gonna have all the information that you need to decide whether or not you're gonna continue to listen to this podcast or not. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, everything ain't for everybody. Everybody ain't for everything, and all of you may not be for me. So I'm gonna make it clear from the very beginning right here that maybe this show is not gonna be for everybody, but I'm gonna make it so clear what I'm about and what this show is gonna be about that you will not be confused as to whether your answer is in or out by the time this is over. Everybody cool with that? Great, let's get into it. Point number 1, and today's, again, we're just giving you an introduction to the show, the Overseas Basketball Blueprint Podcast. So the answer to this first question is who? So there are 2 answers here. First of all, let me introduce myself. And those of you who already know who I am, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. I'm from the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I now reside in Miami, Florida. Started playing basketball at the age of 14 in Philadelphia in the playgrounds of Uptown, Mount Airy, Philadelphia. Shout out to everybody from Philly who's listening to this. Didn't make my high school basketball team until my senior year. We didn't even have a JV. When I was growing up playing in the Philadelphia School District, I went to George Washington Carver High School of Engineering and Science. For anybody who's from Philly who may want to know, if there are any famous alumni there, there was one guy named Lynn Greer who played briefly in the NBA, played a long career in overseas, but nobody else famous that I think any of you would know. But anyway, made my high school team as a senior, sat the bench, scored 2 points a game as a senior in high school. My last high school game was our first round playoff loss. My senior year, I did not even get into that game. Then I walked on in college. I went to Penn State Abington my freshman year of college, walked on, made the basketball team. At the time, Penn State Abington was only 2 years athletically, even though it was a 4-year school academically. It now is a D3 school, but back then it was only 2 years athletically. Now you can play 4. I got recruited after my freshman year to go to Penn State Altoona, which at the time was a full-fledged Division III school. So I took a step up. I got recruited up to Penn State Altoona, played there my sophomore year, my junior year, but the coach who had recruited me gets replaced by a new coach, a guy by the name of Armin Gilliam. He's a former NBA player, played 13 years in the NBA. I know that because he would always yell that out at any time a player questioned him. Hey, I played 13 years in the NBA. He ended up cleaning house of the program, which happens often when new coaches come into basketball programs. I became a casualty of that house cleaning. So halfway through my junior year, I was no longer on the basketball team. My last year and a half of college, I did not play on an official basketball team. All I did was work on my game, go to class, and play intramurals, in which I did, I should note, win a championship my senior year. I won the intramural championship, averaged like 35 points a game. Graduated college with a degree in business from Penn State University, focused in management and marketing. And then I wanted to play professional basketball. Problem, I played D3, another problem. I had no game footage, another problem. I had no prospects, no agent, no leads, no way of getting into the overseas game. I knew absolutely nothing. And back then there were no books, there were no websites, there were no podcasts telling you about overseas basketball. And I didn't know anyone who had played overseas basketball. So I had a list of problems that were going to preclude me from playing professional basketball overseas. And given my background, it had only been 9 years since I had even picked up a basketball, my future as far as being a basketball player looked grim. I mean, I had a college degree. Maybe I could be successful at something, but it damn sure didn't look like it was going to be basketball. And for that first year after school, it sounded like it as well, because I worked 2 quote-unquote regular jobs. I worked at Foot Locker as an assistant manager, and I worked at a gym called Bally Total Fitness as a membership salesperson. So the year after that, so this is a whole year, 6 months at Foot Locker, 6 months at Bally Total Fitness, and then this is the year after. So I graduated college, just to give you all the timeline, 2004. I worked for that year until 2005. Summer 2005, I saved up just enough money to go to my first ever exposure camp. Now, some other things happens in between here. I'll fill in the blanks when we get later into the show and further episodes, so don't worry about the details I'm leaving out here because there are plenty. But I went to my first exposure camp the summer of 2005. The camp was called InfoSport. It was held at Lake Brantley Athletic Complex in Lake Brantley, Florida, right outside of Orlando. Me and a couple of my college teammates drove from Philadelphia all the way down to Orlando. That's a very long drive. We left on Friday. The camp started at 9 a.m. Saturday. We walked in the gym just in time to begin the camp. Did not sleep driving in that rented vehicle. I paid the $250 in cash. That's the money I saved up, $250 in cash to play at that exposure camp. I did my thing at that 2-day camp. We played 4 games. I did my thing in those games. My thing as a player was, at that time, was just my athleticism. I wanted to just show off my athleticism because, you know, if you get a nice dunk in the game, everybody remembers you, even if that's the only point you had. So I had several dunks at that camp, impressed several people, got a glowing scouting report, got the footage from that. So now I had the 2 things I needed. First of all, a third-party source, trusted third-party source, a credible third-party source saying something positive about my game, and I have proof of it on video. Those are 2 things that I knew I needed. That's why I went to the exposure camp. Got that proof, reached out to every agent who I could find online, called them, emailed them, whatever I had to do. One agent, well, actually, let me back up. A whole bunch of agents said they were interested to see what I had. What do you got? Let me see what you got, kid. So I sent them my footage. Now, mind you, this is 2005. This is before the streaming era. This is when I had a VHS tape. My game footage from that exposure camp was a VHS tape. Those of you who don't know what that is, Google it. V is in Violet, H is in Hawaii, S is in Saturday. VHS, Google it. So I went and had that VHS tape. I made duplicates. I had a double-decker VCR. Y'all know what a VCR is, Google that too. Made copies of that VHS tape on my own dime. And mind you, I didn't have that much money. I told you I had to save up $250 to go to an exposure camp. So I did not have much money at that time. I'm living in my parents' house and I was driving a car that you knew I was coming from 3 blocks away. Let's just put it that way. And not because it had a Hemi in the engine. Now then, I took that footage, made copies, and I mailed it out to every agent who said they were interested. I mailed that footage out to about 20 different agents across the world. Of the 20 agents to whom I sent that VHS tape, 1 agent followed up with me after that who was still interested or who even got the tape or whatever was going on, had the ability or the space to represent me. That 1 agent became my first basketball agent. He got me my first job in Kaunas, Lithuania in 2005. From that point forward, I had a 9-year odyssey in professional basketball from 05 through 2014, 15-ish. Now I want to be clear, and you'll learn more about this again as you listen to more episodes of this show. My professional basketball career was not smooth sailing from that point. I was not steadily employed every single year. There were some years where I could not get a job. There were many more exposure camps that I went to after that first one. And that first camp that I went to, it no longer exists, in case you are wondering. That first agent who represented me, he no longer works in the basketball agents world, in case you were wondering. But my career did continue. I was able to land many other opportunities. All told, over the course of the next 9 years, I've traveled through 8 different countries in my professional basketball career. Every single time I left the country, it was for basketball. And in 2006, if I go back in the story, I started publishing videos on YouTube, not because I was trying to build a brand or create content or make myself an influencer. We were not using any of those phrases in 2006. I posted a video to YouTube simply because that VHS footage from that exposure camp, I wanted a way to safe keep that footage and make sure that it would never disappear. So I published it to this new video website called YouTube. They said you could put videos there for free and they would always be there. I said, great, that's all I needed it for. But somehow, some way, some random people who I did not know and who clearly did not know me found that video, saw it, and they started asking me questions. Hey, how do you play? How do you practice? Who taught you? How often do you train? Can you make videos about this? How did you learn how to dunk? So I started making more videos, not really making videos. Really what I started doing is bringing my little $100 camera with me to the gym when I would work out, because we ball players, we work out every day anyway, right? So I just brought the camera with me, start filming what I was doing, and I would just put the little footage on YouTube. I was barely editing the footage. I would just put it up on YouTube. I mean, to this day, I still barely edit my footage. Put it up, and players were like, man, I need this. By their comments, I saw that there was a void in the marketplace that I could fill. And because over the years, the next 3-4 years, as I already told you, the gaps in my professional playing career, I was like, man, maybe I could look at this YouTube thing, this internet thing could be bigger than me than even playing basketball. And it turns out that was a clairvoyant way of seeing things, because that's exactly the way that it turned out. Now, these days, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. We'll get to that in a minute. But by 2009, 2010, I was creating my own products and services, and I became an entrepreneur while I was still a professional basketball player. So that's when I created this company, Work On Your Game Incorporated, of which I'm the owner and CEO of to this very day. Stopped playing basketball in 2015, cold turkey, meaning I have not played in a full court or any type of basketball game. 1-on-1, 3-on-3. No, I played just do 1-on-1 a couple years ago. But 3-on-3, 5-on-5, pick up, anything. I have not played any basketball whatsoever since 2015. Don't miss playing. I did what I needed to do on the basketball court, and now I am a full-time entrepreneur, as I said, CEO and owner of Work On Your Game Incorporated. So that's me, and there's a whole lot that I can fill in between there. You just keep listening to the show. All that will be filled in and then some, so trust me. Now, the other answer to this who question, because we're still on point number 1 here, is the Overseas Basketball Blueprint Podcast. I created this podcast to give you all the information that you need. I mean, just read the description of the show. All the information that you need to play professional basketball, even if you come from a small school like I did, even if you have a checkered background / playing history like I did, even if you didn't get the right opportunities like I did not, even if you've been forced to play out of position like I was. I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall. I was playing at a D3 school, and we didn't have any big men. I was forced to play. I played backup center in some games my last year playing college basketball, believe it or not. So even if you've had not the right opportunities, things have not worked smoothly for you, and you feel still that you have the talent in the game and the desire to play professional basketball, it is 100% possible. It's 1,000% possible. I am proof positive that it can happen, but there are some things that you need to know, and there's some things that you're going to need to do, and there's some things that you need to avoid. On this show, I'm going to cover all of that and then some. And I'm going to introduce you to some people who have even more information than even I have, or may specialize in certain pieces of information. You're going to learn from those individuals as well as we move forward on this show. So that answers the question as to who. Anybody have any other questions as to who I am or who this show is? Great. Point number 2. What do we do here? I'm going to tell you exactly what we do, Work On Your Game Incorporated, when it comes to overseas basketball. We help the underrated and overlooked basketball player who knows that he has the talent, or she has the talent to play at the highest level. We will help you by providing clarity and unapologetic truth about the business of professional basketball and how to get paid for your talent. The change that we aim to make, because if I'm just doing this, a lot of people could say what I just said. What is the change that we aim to make? The change is we are going to create a streamlined process for a player like you to follow and develop your own professional basketball opportunities and to make them happen, to capitalize on them. We will know we are successful when the Overseas Basketball Blueprint is the source, not a source, but the source for any basketball player who wants to play professional basketball, their first stop and their last stop. Is anybody unclear on what it is that we're doing? Great. Point number 3. Why are we doing this? Why would I do this? There's a lot of different things I could be doing right now professionally. I could be a coach. I could be a trainer. I could focus on the mental side of the game in life, not just in sports, but in life. I told you I've authored, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm author of 26 books. I've done 4 TED Talks. I do a lot of stuff when it comes to the mental side of things. I do coaching, consulting, professional speaking, authoring, as I said, creating a ton of content. If you've heard of me before, you probably know about my content work and a lot of other things that I do. But I decided to make sure I'm giving these overseas basketball players something for a reason. That brings us to point number 3. Why is this? Because I know what it feels like to be underrated. I know what it feels like to be overlooked, to have your professional goals looked down upon, ridiculed, fought against, or to just have plain your goals not working. All right, everything you're trying to do is just not working. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to have bad luck working against you, as I explained in my college experience. I know how it feels to have something to prove, but you don't really get the clear opportunity that you need to actually prove it. The fact that I made it happen, despite the things that I told you about, and there's many more things I haven't even gotten into, that is still, to this very day, one of the proudest achievements of my life, that I was able to make it happen when it came to professional basketball. Simply because, number 1, we know that all of us put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this basketball thing that we decided to get involved in. We all know that, as they say, it's a 1 in a million chance of somebody making it professional in sports, and it is literally a 1 in a million chance of somebody making it. So knowing that I was one of the few who did it, that means a whole lot to me. Knowing the odds that I had to go against and come up against in order to get to where I got to means a whole lot to me to this day. And I'm not telling you that to impress you, but to impress upon you I know I'm not the only person in the world who wants to experience the feeling that I was trying to experience when I was trying to get on. I know that you want to feel that feeling if you haven't played yet, and I know you want to continue to feel that feeling if you are playing right now. That's why this show exists. I am here to help you feel the same thing that I felt. Now, what you can do on that court, your skills, your talent, I know you already have that handled. You wouldn't be listening to a show about playing overseas if you didn't think you were good enough to play overseas, or you don't feel like you can become good enough to play overseas. You want to feel that feeling of knowing you accomplished it. I'm here to help you do that. That's why this show exists. Point number 4 is how. How can you be involved and how can you get the most value out of this show? First thing you need to do simply is hit the subscribe button. So wherever you're listening to this, if you're listening on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or where's the other places podcasts are, wherever podcasts are, make sure you subscribe to the show so that every time a new episode comes out, it automatically gets sent to your phone. You don't have to remember to go check on it. It automatically goes to your phone. If you got notifications, whatever you do, turn those on to make sure every new episode that comes out of the show, you get access to. Make sure also, if you're on Apple Podcasts, go leave a review of the show. If you already know who I am and you've already benefited from my material in the past, leave a review of the show and let people know, like, this dude is legit. I've been listening to this guy. This guy's helped me this much in this way and that way in my life already. Go ahead and leave a review to let people know that I am not a new guy. I am not new to this. I'm not new to giving value. I'm not new to helping people step their games up and make the most of their performance and make the most of their game, make the most of their talent. I've been doing this for 15 years online. That is not an exaggeration. 15 years online I've been doing this. I've created more free content and published it to the internet than any individual person you can name. Go ahead and name somebody. Nobody has created more free content and published it to the internet than Dre Baldwin. Not one person. I'm telling you all that again, not to impress you, but to impress upon you. This is going to be valuable for you. You want to play basketball overseas, I'm going to give you everything that you need. Now, other thing that you can do is go to balloverseas.com. Balloverseas.com. The link is down in the description of this episode, the show notes. Get your copy of my free book, The Overseas Basketball Blueprint, 237 pages that will tell you exactly what you need to do, what you need to know, and what you need to avoid to start your professional basketball career, not now, but right now. That's at balloverseas.com. Once you get done doing that, go to overseasbasketballblueprint.com. Just take the out. Overseasbasketballblueprint.com. All of the game that I'll be dropping, that will be the home page for it. So this podcast episodes, any videos that I put out, articles that I'm writing, make sure you're on the email list so you get every article that I'm putting out or every video I put out. You get it sent right to your inbox. You don't even have to remember to go check. That's at overseasbasketballblueprint.com. And then just make sure you're listening to every episode that I put out so you don't miss any information. The worst thing you could be in this game is misinformed or underinformed. So make sure you are paying attention to when I drop something new. And point number 5, one more thing. What's going to happen from this point forward after everything that I just told you? I'm going to be sharing my best overseas material, the best stuff that I have come up with already that isn't on this podcast. I'm gonna make sure it gets put on this podcast. So in the future, you may hear me referencing something that refers to a video or refers to my website, my homepage website, dreallday.com. That's because I took audio off a video that I had already recorded and I'm putting it here in this podcast to make sure everything that I've ever talked about when it comes to overseas basketball is here on this podcast. But I want to be 1000% clear. The material on this podcast is not just going to be anything that I already created. It's going to be new stuff that I'm creating. I mean, literally today, creating new stuff about overseas basketball. If you saw the list of content topics that I have to make about overseas basketball, you wouldn't believe it. All right, and you would definitely hit the subscribe button 10 times to make sure you miss nothing. So I got a ton of new material coming. As I just told you a minute ago, I've created more content than any person on the internet. So if you're worried about somebody running out of ideas or running out of content, I'll tell you one thing, it damn sure ain't gonna be me. So make sure you are subscribed to this show so you get everything new that comes out, everything that I already have in this feed. If you're listening to this right now, you should see about 40 episodes of this show already loaded into the feed. How did I do that on the first day of the show? Magic, all right, because I got skill that very few people have, and I'm going to serve you with that skill here on this show. I will always be adding new stuff, so make sure you stay subscribed. Make sure you leave a review. Tell a friend. If you got a homeboy or a homegirl or a son or a daughter or a player who is trying to get on into the overseas world and they're clueless as to what to do, they don't know where to begin, they don't know what their first step is, tell them, hey, bro, hey, girl, I done found a step. It's called the Overseas Basketball Blueprint Podcast. It's hosted by this dude named Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. If you want to go where I'm trying to go, like we've been talking about, we need to subscribe to this show, listen to it, and we need to discuss every episode together because I guarantee you I'm going to give you food for thought and I'm going to give you some game for what you need to do to get your career started. Everybody clear on everything that I just said? Great. Now let me recap everything I just told you. First of all, who am I? Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, former 9-year professional athlete, author of 26 books. I've given 4 TED Talks. I'm owner of Work on Your Game Incorporated and also the CEO. This is the Overseas Basketball Blueprint Podcast. Point number 2, what do? We help the underrated and overlooked basketball player who knows they have the talent to play at the highest level. We will help you by providing clarity and unapologetic truth about the business of professional basketball and how to get paid for your talent. We are going to create a streamlined process for you to follow and develop your own professional basketball opportunities. We are going to be the source for any player who wants to play professional basketball, the first stop and the last stop. Number 3, why do I do this? I know what it feels like to be underrated, overlooked, and not have your chance to prove your game. The fact that I made it is one of the proudest things I've done in my life, and I know I'm not the only person who's looking for that feeling. I'm going to help you get it. How do you get involved? Subscribe to this show, leave a review right now. Go to balloverseas.com, claim your free copy of the Overseas Basketball Blueprint, then go to overseasbasketballblueprint.com and get all the game that I'll be dropping on every platform and every format. And number 5, what's going to happen next? You already see how many episodes are in the queue, so go ahead and listen to everything right now, put it on repeat, download everything, whatever you got to do, save the episodes. It's all free, it's all available for you. I'm putting this game out because I want you to get to where I got to and experience what I experienced, because there is no job in the world, I promise you, there is no job you will ever have that is more fun and more enjoyable than being a professional basketball player, traveling the world, seeing places that you probably otherwise will never see, having your food paid for, your housing paid for, your travel paid for, and you get a salary. And all you got to do is come to the gym for a couple hours a day and show your game. If there's a job in the world better than that, somebody tell me what it is. I'm a full-time entrepreneur now, and just by the sheer amount of hours that I got to work and the amount of stuff that I need to deal with, this job ain't better than being a professional basketball player. I don't regret this job. I do not dislike my job as a CEO, but it ain't being a professional basketball player. It was just a better job. Let's just put it that way. I'll talk about that in a future episode. So all y'all know what the deal is. Y'all know what I'm about. Y'all know what's going to be happening here on this show. If anybody got a question, listen to the episode again because I answered everything. Work on your game. I will see you on the next episode. Dre all day.